Hello, everybody. Welcome to Industry Insider, brought to you by TrueCar. My name is Carrie Wise. I am a VP at TrueCar, and I'm with my colleague, Matt Jones. He's a director at TrueCar. And we're so excited to bring you Industry Insider, where we talk to movers and shakers in the industry. And Matt, I'll just let you explain a little bit more about what Industry Insider is all about.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this special edition of Industry Insider. Industry Insider is one of the things that we're most proud of here at TrueCar. Carrie's been in the automotive industry for about 20 years. I've been in the automotive industry for about 20 years. We love auto. We care about this industry sincerely, just as everybody at TrueCar does. And so we thought that we would take the time and create an environment where dealerships could actually learn best practices, tips, and techniques from some of the best people in the industry, which are other dealers. And so that's why we are so thrilled to bring to you Industry Insider dealer-to-dealer conversations. It's something, I think, Carrie, this is like our 17th, 18th episode of the show, something like that?
I think so. We started right after the pandemic hit in March, right? So, I mean, we've been going for a while.
It's been going for a while, and it's a great opportunity to learn some stuff from people who might have a different viewpoint than your own, maybe a different story than your own, but they're living in the same world and they're walking in your shoes because these folks are from dealers. So thank you for tuning in again to Industry Insider Dealer Conversations. We love having this opportunity every other week.
And we want to remind everybody, and I haven't done so, is to share it with your friends, with your colleagues right now on Facebook. So go to our page if you're seeing this and share it right now. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share it to my page right now. So that's done. As I mentioned, this is brought to you by TrueCar, and the recording of this interview will be on our dealer blog. I'm going to pull up the address for that, truecar.com/dealer blog. You can find not only this interview, other interviews like this, but there's also insights, articles, infographics, all kinds of things to help you market and sell better. So check that out.
It's all free.
It's all free. Absolutely. So let's jump in, Matt. Let's introduce our guests.
Yes, in this segment, we are so thrilled about the topic that we're talking about and our guest. We're really going to be talking about how to effectively market and sell to a multicultural community. And this is incredibly important as the demographics of our country changes. And that's why we are so thrilled to have our special guest, which is Boris Lopez. He's a GM and partner of South Dade Toyota out there outside of Miami. And he is a tremendous success. Mr. Boris Lopez is a tremendous success in the industry. He's quadrupled sales at his store. He's increased profit. And it was recently announced that he is going to represent the Toyota brand on the Google Dealer Council. And if that wasn't enough, this dude has also recently won Automotive News' coveted 40 Under 40 award. This dude's the real deal. Mr. Boris Lopez is the real deal. We're very happy to have him on our show about this very important topic, talking to a multicultural consumer base. So with no further ado, let's, thank you, Mr. Boris. And what I almost forgot to mention, he is a definite TrueCar dealer program partner. So thank you
we appreciate you being on the program. We're really excited about that.
Wow. Thank you for the introduction. That was like...
I have to, man.
Thank you for the invitation. I think it's really good when I talk to you, and thank you for... I think it's amazing that a company like TrueCar is keep evolving and keep interacting with dealers like this. I really love it. I'm happy to interact with you too.
Great.
Thank you. Now, normally this is the part we like to introduce our guests and have them tell us a little bit about themselves, and we're going to do that. But before we do that, I want to say good luck to your Miami Heat against our Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow, Matt, that's very classy of you to wish him good luck.
I know he's a Miami Heat fan. I know he's a Miami Heat fan, so I had to put that out there.
I think that's good because we were the underdog. I think this 2020 teach us a lot of things. I think Miami's been blessed so far. Pretty much every team is in the playoff. The Marlins, I think 20 years without being in the playoff, and everybody's joking about they're used to play without fans, and that's the reason they're being so successful. That's not the reality for the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are doing really good. I think as a team, they're showing that's a teamwork. It's not it's not a superstar. You have a great leader, and then people that is okay with the plan and following the plan, and I think they're getting the result. Good coach, good culture. Like I think it's great. It's a great example for everybody, like our industry too. Like I think everybody needs leader, and I think it's
That's great. And I heard that you're in automotive news 40 under 40. And I gotta say, before we talk about that, that I am a little bit jealous of that because I have aged out. I'm 43 and I never won. And so there's a little bit, every time I hear the 40 under 40, I'm happy for the people that have won, but there's a little bit of sting that I'll never be a 40 under 40 like you. But anyways, what was that like to be selected?
I was kind of like a surprise. The one that proposed my name was a person that I know of in NADA, and I think for years he was trying to put me in that list, and I was not okay because I don't know. Like sometimes, I share in one of my posts in social media. It's not. I think car dealers is like a team. Like I'm only successful because the team that I have with me. It's not me. It's hard to have like these kind of like awards, like a personal awards, when it's not only one person working. But I think for the team, it's good to be recognized, and that's the reason. Like those kind of success only happen when you have the right people surrounding you. That's the only reason I think was good, because it's not only like a prize for me, it's like an award for the organization, it's like an award for the team, because we're a team. It's not, I can say a lot of things, but if nobody listen to me, we don't get anywhere.
Good point.
Yeah, I think it was good because I think like I put our name in a different position, but yeah, I think like was right in time, like before the 40s. I think it's good to have that there. But yeah, honestly, I was really happy and surprised. That was never a goal for me. Like I think we always work hard to do the right thing every time, and we get those awards for a ton of things that we do in silent that nobody knows. But yes, definitely, it's good and an honor to be nominated that. And the same thing with the Google. I think you mentioned about Google. As TrueCar, I will obviously get the nomination to be the Toyota representative for Google, the voice for dealers, because they want to keep learning, as you guys want to keep learning from dealers and say, hey, how we can do it better. This is a $3 billion company, but they're still open in the teams, like say how we can do it better. We can be more helpful for this industry in particular that put a lot of money in advertising, that put a lot of money in marketing, and like employ a lot of people. I think that teach a lot about what is the culture inside the company, and obviously the culture about the team. I'm glad that I'm one of the voices. I hope I can stay there for a long time. I think they're going to change that every year. I hope I can be there for 10 years. But that's good because that make me keep like a learning and putting my insight and testing, because it's a lot of like a pilot things that you need to keep doing and sharing in the industry, like make you why you want to be the console, why you want to be the voice of the dealers in front of Google, why you're going to be the voice of Toyota in front of Google. Again, a blast. It's already 3 meetings from the Google. I thought was secret until they send that like a kind of like a trophy or an award. But I didn't mention that before. I have like probably 4 months already meetings, like discussing internal things, what is coming next, what is the next plan, sharing like insight, what we think they can do better. And then I receive that kind of thing on my desk. Like, that's good. Again.
That's awesome.
So, so thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself. Now, what we always like to do also on the show, we're going to ask you to talk about you for a little bit longer, because we want the people who are watching the show to understand who they're getting advice from. So can you tell the people who are watching a little bit about your journey in the automotive, like how you got in, how long you've been in the automotive industry, things like that, just for a little bit?
Yeah, I think like I can tell you it's like a perfect American dream in a way. If I can write a book, I can put it like that. I am from Venezuela. I'm original from Venezuela. I started this business by luck. I get to know my actual partner right now. In that time, he was a family-owned dealership back there in Venezuela. It's almost close to get to the 100 years. That's his goal soon. And I was an IT. I was going to school for IT, and I was obviously that was my focus. I never thought I want to get into the dealership. and he invited me that time. I have 18 years old. He invited me to be part of the dealership because I went there to fix a problem. Long story. I want to put it short, but he invited me to be part of the dealership. I would start selling cars over there. 4 years later, I was kind of running the company as a director of operation. I was 22 years old when that happened. Uh, Obviously, loved the business. I always thought was not be part of this business because I love the technology and that was kind of my background and that was my future for me. But when I started learning this business, was in different country because it was in Venezuela. But when I started learning this business, it's like 5 different business in one rooftop. Like parts is different, like service is different, like sales is different. And over there, we didn't have F&I that I think is a completely separate business. A lot of situations happened in Venezuela that made us move here. I came here, I was not even speaking English in that time, and that was 11 years ago. That was one of my first goals. I need to learn the language. Like it's not only that I'm gonna be in this country, I'm gonna do this right, I need to learn the language. That was my first goal. But the second was learning from culture, like learning for everything that was happening around. I was lucky to be in a town like Miami that it has this diversity that is not only Latin, because I think for a part of US, Latin means Mexican. And I'm not saying this is disrespectful because I think it's the majority of the population is coming from Mexico. Here in Miami, it's a little bit different because we have a little bit of everything. We have people from Argentina, people from Venezuela, people from Brazil, people from Colombia, people from Cuba. You have a good mix of everything that makes a little bit more complicated, not only the consumer that you're going to be receiving, the employees, it's the culture that you need to have inside to make sure you have all these cultures working together towards the same goal. That was kind of exciting for me at that time. I was 26 when that happened. And I started learning again from zero. You mentioned that at the beginning, we get a store that was selling 35 new cars, and we grew up to 400 new cars. The average right now is 350. That's our number. Yes, we got a store like a total was selling like a 40 cars, losing $2 million in that time. In 3 years, we were able to turn back. Obviously, this was in the worst time of the economy, like 2009, 2010, 2011. I think that was a good lesson for what happened this year. At the beginning, that nobody knows what's going to happen in March. But anyways, I keep growing and learning a lot from everybody. Like always open to learn. Went to the NADA Academy. I think that was a huge deal for me. Again, learning the language, like get to know to a lot of people. I went to the academy and get together with managers and learning about how they do things in different business. In different towns, in different cities, in different, how you learn from that. I keep a good friends that we still share a lot of information. And I can tell you right now, I think one of the biggest reasons we as a team can say we're successful is because we keep sharing stories. We keep sharing, like I'm in the 20 group too. I still have my old team from the academy. Like we share, hey, what has happened there? Where are you doing this? Are you using from these specific people? How can you maximize this? I think the people that you get in the industry is the one that help. Good people that you get in the industry is the one that help you to move to a next level. And finally, last year, I was able to put a deal together, and with Mario, that is my actual partner and my friend as my mentor, we were able to acquire a Kia dealership, kind of the same position was at Toyota. Like selling like 20 new cars and 10 used cars, losing $800,000 a year. And a year, like last month, we saw 140 new Kias, almost 60. This month, we're pacing 150 new Kias. Next year, the plan is we're going to sell 1,500 Kias for sure. And keep growing. And I was able to partner. Like that was a big deal for me. I have a position in a different business, but I think this was a big deal. Again, get a great opportunity to be like, I always want to learn more. And that's kind of like that's kind of my personality. It's never stop. Like how I keep learning every day. And marketing is a big portion of this business. How you maximize every vendor is a big portion of this business. I having a conversation a few days ago with one of my managers, and he said, "I'm gonna cancel this." I said, "But did you try? Did you try this vendor? You really try? Did you put the effort?" If the response is no, yeah, you can cancel if you are not committed to use it, but at least try. Be committed. Try it. It doesn't work. Probably doesn't work for us. You can cancel it. Don't cancel because you don't have time to work with them, because that means you're gonna lose a portion of this business. You're gonna lose things that you don't learn.
Right.
If this vendor is working for a majority of dealers, why not for us? That's kind of the mentality that we have inside the store. But I think I can put in a short version a lot of my life so far. And listen, the way I feel it, I'm still at the beginning of the story, like still hungry, like really, like obviously happy to be part of this economy, or happy to be part of this country, happy to be part of this business. Like I think changed a little bit. I think 2 years ago, I thought this industry was changing for the bad. I still think it's a lot of things that need to be corrected in the industry, like transparency, a lot of things. But my thought, and this is my conversation with my partner, 2 years ago, we were in a convention for Toyota, and I told him, like, today is like 1,600 dealers. I bet in 10 years from now, it's going to be 1,000 dealers. Like, I think it's dealers that are going to be disappearing, because in the future, I don't think distance is going to be relevant anymore. It's going to be service, the one that is going to be the number one and top priority. And he told me, like, I don't think that's going to happen. So, like, yeah, like you see, highways are connecting towns like faster. Again, all the now, this situation accelerate a lot of what was happening. But this, like, home delivery and all of that, listen, doesn't matter where I am. I'm going to put the car in your house. Like, and we see a couple of Carvanas and all of that, they're changing the business. And it's going to be changed. We know that. We need to be prepared.
I
to
like
be one of the ones that is going to be still alive.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I want to we want to talk to you about where you see things are going in a little bit. But what I notice about you is that you're talking about these future trends, many of which are scary to the average dealer. Many of which, if they talked about a Carvana or anything like that, there would be a lot of defensiveness. There would be a lot of, like, they're not going to make it. They're not profitable. Like, that's what you hear. But I think what I hear from you in terms of your approach is you seem very pragmatic of, like, this is the stuff that's happening, and I can either choose to ignore it, or I can choose to, like, really pay attention to it and evolve myself in terms of getting ahead of it. I don't want to speak for you, but that, to me, that's what your personality seems like as a leader.
That's the way I see it. I think you can, sometimes we think we're the one that in control. We're not. Consumers are in control. You need to match what the consumers want. I think we need to learn from bigger companies like Apple and all these companies that they create consumers' behavior. I think that's what companies like Carvana are ahead of dealers and manufacturers. They're investing in that. They're putting the money, creating a change in the behavior that I think meet customer expectation. Customer expectation right now is that's what they want. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen, like in a few years from now, but we need to be prepared. We need to start walking that path. I think we need to embrace those changes, like from companies like Carvana, and it's a couple of other ones that are doing the same. B-Roon is doing the same. It's a couple of others, and I think that's the good about this industry. It's a lot of money, a lot of investment. That's good about the convention. That's good about this. Like TrueCar say, this is what we see about that. We see evolution from TrueCar from day one to now. I think the beginning of TrueCar was kind of like a different. The perception was different. We change a lot of things. You change even CEO, and then you are in a different way. Like now, at the beginning, honestly, I can tell you, a lot of meetings that I have with different dealers say, we need to stop TrueCar. Mm-hmm. We need to stop this. We can allow, listen, I was in a convention for Toyota, and they were talking about TrueCar. So, like, we need to stop it. My perception at that time, I said, like, no, because they're investing a lot of money in marketing. They're creating their market. We need to embrace them. Like, we need to make them partners. How we work together. Even if they're gonna say bad about dealers, how we work with them in a way. But obviously, the philosophy from TrueCar changed, and obviously now it's more like a dealer partner. I love it. I think it's working different. I think you have a different way to see the business that's gonna change in the future for other vendors, because you're the perfect one. If you don't sell it, you don't pay. that's hard. Normally in marketing and in all these advertising companies, you pay, then you work with the results. That's kind of different from TrueCar. But again, I think like I love technology. I think we need to embrace technology. We need to embrace changes, things that probably didn't happen. I think 2 years ago we were talking about this subscription model, subscription model, and I think was it like the former CEO for TrueCar was one of the bigger advocates for that. I think have a company for that, but they were talking about subscription, and everybody would say, "No, subscription isn't work." Well, see it. Let looks like a great model. Why we don't keep seeing and embrace this? And I will tell you, probably 2 years ago in a meeting with Kia, one of the things that surprised me when we were talking about this acquisition, one thing that they were talking as a manufacturer, they say we're looking into the subscription model. They're like, well, that's great that the manufacturer is taking this advantage and this next step, and let's see if we can make it work. Again, we don't listen about that anymore. Often, like we were listening like 2 years ago, it's still there. It's like a piece of things that is part of the evolution. I think we can't stop it. If we say it doesn't exist, it's not going to exist. How we want to work and deal with that is different.
Yeah, whether you say it's not going to change, it's going to. It's going to happen no matter what. I think when you put the consumer first and saying that we think that we're in control and the consumer really is, we are in a consumer-driven industry. Any time where money's being exchanged, whether it's ice cream or whether it's cars, it's a consumer-driven industry. So having an opportunity having the mindset of wanting to meet these customers where they're at is very important. I would like to ask you, when you're thinking about the consumer model, because that's who we want to serve always, it's sometimes different. There's different ways to attract that model. We're in a new environment where I may not just walk into your store, right, to meet you. My first touch may not be me walking into your store for whatever reason I have. A lot of this is taking place over the phone or in alternate forms of communication. So how have you evolved, or how has your store evolved to meet this new consumer demand in an environment where things have changed so much, where there's a little bit less physical?
I think that was kind of easy for us because we were working from before. I think what happened with this pandemic accelerated the process, but we know it's coming. I think we were talking earlier about Carvana. No customer are going to love that. We know customer love that kind of transaction. We know customer love transparency. We can be blind to that. And that's the reason we were working from before to have kind of like a entire operation and entire strategy, how we want to offer this to customer. I think the pandemic accelerated the process, but we were already there. Like we already have the tools, we already have kind of like what we have already working in place, give us an advantage. I say this in another article that they did an interview for me. What was the reason we were successful, even when the things were not happening during the pandemic? Why we were top 10 dealer in the country, even when that was closed in April? Like, one, we were ready. We were ready for that change. We were ready to offer the customer that we can deliver the car from home. We were ready to the customer, like, we can service the car. We can pick the car from home and put it back to you. We were ready to give you a loaner at that time. That was not a program that we invented in March. That was not a program that we invented that in April. Ready for that. We know that was coming. We were also working in a project like having kiosks in the store. Like, that means if you can translate that kiosk process to a phone, and that's one of the reasons one of the slogans we're using right now is, listen, we're the closest dealer to you. Doesn't matter where you are. We're the closest dealer to you because we're in your phone.
Yep.
That's kind of the strategy, because that's what we want to become. We want to become the closest dealer to you. What would be is an option, easy for you to handle, and what better than your phone?
Right.
That's what we are. But I feel like consumers are going to want that more often than before. Like, they already are expecting that. Even if this pandemic passes, and I hope never happens something like that again, we already changed the behavior as consumer. People want less touch. Like, people change. Like, I change. I have a different perception about. I used to have, when I'm a little bit sick, I'd have a flu. I don't care. I get out and, touch people, like do things. Like now I'm more aware. Even if I feel sick, I will wear a mask. I will do things. Like this changed already. Like we need to adapt to this and stay forever. Like we start putting like disinfecting the cars when we receive the cars in service. We disinfected the cars before delivering the car to the customer. And the question for me was, well, we were not doing that before. Like, what is the reason? Like, this, you can say, well, the cost or this, the cost is $1. Like, it's not more, it's not better to do that from the customer before. Like, we're not think this has germs, like it's gonna transmit, like it's not more secure, like who touched your car, like this is clean. Why this was not happening before? That was my internal question, but I don't think it's gonna stop. Like for now, if we're doing it, what we need to change is it changes in this business. Some change are gonna stay for a long time.
Yeah, we're seeing it. I mean, we've been serving the customers since March, right after the pandemic kind of hit. We surveyed them right after that, and every single month we've surveyed them about, are you scared to shop for a car because of COVID? How has it changed what you expect from a remote retailing standpoint? And what you'll see is the fear of shopping for a car has gone down now since March. So consumers aren't as afraid to, visit a dealership. But what has remained steady and has increased is their demand for remote retailing. They still want the car delivered to their home. They still want to negotiate even online or over the phone. So all of those things, like as you said, are here to stay. Just like I didn't order groceries prior to COVID, right? Like now that I've gotten a taste of some of these things, I'm probably going to still do them even after this is all over. So I think you're 100% right.
It's not only that, it's like, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, like even us as a dealer, like one thing that we were thinking, like, listen, I believe customer needs to test drive the car before they make a big decision. This is a question that I have to my managers and to my team in the internet. I say, listen, how many customers walk inside the store before the pandemic? How many customers walk inside the store saying, I'm buying the car today? 10%? Are we expecting this customer to do online that? Like, I'm buying a car right now. I'm clicking here. I'm buying the car. It's not that. Like, how many?
So smart.
It's not going to happen. Like, how we make it easy? We need to make it easy. We need to make the customer like they're not buying, but when they're in the store, we have the opportunity to talk to them, to show them the benefit of the car, make a good deal in front of them, put numbers and that. Okay, now they're interested in making the deal and they do the deal. How do you do that online? How do you transform that kind of perception for the customer, like, and do online? We're trying something different. We're trying the customer can drive a car and we have 14 days to return the car. Why? Because the reason is we want them to feel there's no pressure. We're offering you a deal up front. We are transparent to you. This is the best that we can do up front. If you don't feel comfortable because you buy the car and you don't feel comfortable with that, you can come back and return the car. I think we see a lot of good response from that.
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
I hope not.
I hope not. Boris, are you there?
I lose you.
Oh, you're back.
I said, are you crazy? People are gonna be returning cars. They're gonna drive the car they put 5,000 miles. They're gonna come back. You know how many cars do we have returning so far? Not even one.
Right.
Because the customer feel pressure and they're not like taking advantage. You once in a while you have somebody that doesn't want to take advantage of that, but that's not the majority. And you need to work for the majority. Majority is gonna feel this is no pressure. I can try. If I don't like it, I can return it. That's what we think, and that's been successful. We let the customer. Actually, we're talking the customer through the process. One thing that Urbana is doing really well is not that they offer the car online. They follow the process to the customer. Once they have a customer that is working through that, they call the customer, friendly, no pressure. It's no pressure. It's like how we can help you, how we can walk through this process that you feel comfortable. That's kind of like a different approach. That's kind of the approach that we're taking, honestly.
So yeah, so what you said, and both of you guys, I apologize for laughing so hard when you said that, because only 10% of the people walk in and say I'm going to buy a car immediately, and we're expecting them to do exactly that same thing online. Like it's not that great, but there still needs to be nurturing. There still needs to be like showing, like going over through the steps. And it sounds like that you've set up an environment that recognizes people want to do certain things online and certain things remotely, but it's still very personal. And it's personal because you've created an assurance. I've given you a good deal. I'm going to give you a good deal. I'm going to allow you to buy the car remotely if you so desire. But I'm also going to give you deal confidence in that if it turns out that this is the wrong vehicle for you, I still got you. I still love you. We're still friends. Let's just figure it out and make it right. And that's the personalization that seems to be sometimes missing in some people's efforts to create a completely digital marketplace or a digital environment, is that human, because we're still human. I love that you, so again, sincere apologizing for laughing. I just never heard it presented that way. And I was like, yes, that's that's fantastic. I love that. So I had to just throw that in there. I'm sorry.
Were there any hurdles that you had to face from a pandemic standpoint, though? I mean, I understand that you were doing many of these things before. You had embraced some of these processes before COVID struck, but was there any adjustment that you had to make after?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I think one of the biggest one was to be working in a different way. Realize like we were lazy. Realize like we were kind of like a fat cats. Like, hey, we're allowing things to happen because we can. I think that realization that happened in March, that we need to sit down and, okay, I'll tell you a story. I always talk to salesmen and managers, and I say, we always hear about correction in the market. We always hear like, hey, this market is not going to stay 17 million plus forever. We heard that. My measurement was, okay, how bad was it in 2009, 2010, 2008? 30% less? Let's be prepared to have 30% less cars than what we have today. And that was the plan that I was working from before. I kind of prepared. Like when that happened in March, I sat with my partner and say, this is what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to be 30% less. Don't worry. We're going to stay alive. We're going to make sure we turn this in a positive way. And I was kind of prepared for that. But what happened was I realized in that time, like, yes, we did the plan. We reduced 30% expenses. We were prepared for that. We make sure everybody was secure. You don't want to lose somebody from your team if you hit bottom, like how we can making sure this is going to stay. I think the team is really valuable for the organization. I think you make sure they kind of still pay their mortgage, they kind of still pay the rent, like start making those kind of like, okay, let's make sure everybody's prepared for that. And that was a lot of conversation before about, hey, financially, you need to be ready when these things happen. Like make sure you're saving money when these things happen. But then, okay, now everything is in calm. Then we're ready. We're fine. Everything is going the right direction. What else we can do different? Oh, I don't need 2 inventory managers. Like, why do I have 2 inventory managers? Like, I was kind of like having that from before, but I don't need it. Why I have this kind of person working like this? Why I have an assistant from an assistant that is going to be doing this job? Then you start feeling like, why? If I can tell you right now, I'm selling more cars with less non-productive people than before. And that realization was a call that we need to make upon ourselves and say, it's not like we're going to stay like this forever, but we sell more cars. We grew so far this year compared with last year with 3% off in the Toyota store, almost 200% off in the Kia store, and with less non-productive people. We need more people. I need more salesmen. I need more employees. It's not like this is going to stay forever like that. No, it's not going to stay forever. And I will tell you, like, have this conversation with district managers. Like, I'm talking with my managers. Don't get confused. We didn't reinvent the wheel. The market is real. Used car price is crazy. But don't think you're making an amazing job. And now because something happened, making this amount of money because we're working this hard. Don't get confused. Market is going to come back. Everything is going to come back to the normal that we used to know. Profit from used cars is not going to stay at $5,000, $10,000. Like some stores are making $10,000. This is going to last forever. Inventory is going to come back to the levels. Listen, make sure we're stick to basics and we're doing the same thing over and over. But one of the challenge was that obviously working with the non-predictive things like people getting sick, nobody knows if they're going to come back, like working with that kind of environment, that was kind of challenge, obviously, like working with employees and trying to keep the positive mindset. I was sending email daily, like I didn't know how before, but during this time, the worst time, I was sending an email to the management team every night about what is the state, what we're doing today. We're selling this amount of cars, parts, we have this many customers from service department, trying to keep everybody motivated. I put like a quote, a motivational quote every night. Every night I send like 65 emails for that period of time to make sure the team stayed together. Like, hey, tomorrow this is gonna happen. Today we have this inspection. Today we have this many employees. Like that was obviously a challenge. That was a learning process for me too, and I think for everybody in the team. I think that was good. You know, we realized like we can do it. Like, hey, we can survive through these tough times. I think make us better leader. I think.
Yeah. So I think what I heard from that is efficiency, right? Like we need to get more out of less. And we probably should have been thinking about that even before the pandemic in many ways. And then overly communicating, which is good. Like we're far apart right now. I haven't seen Matt, in person since March, but but we got to talk more. We got to communicate more than we ever have before. Those are good lessons.
You know what, Boris, you said something that I thought was really great. You talked about sending emails to your staff to find out where people are. And that's like a personalization. That's like, again, not to harp back on what you said, but I think personalization in our industry is very, very important. And I want to take that conversation a little bit further about the personalization. I know, and one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you is about a process and some processes that you've created at your store that seem to be very personal in order to sell and market to the people who are in your area. Because I know that, for the people who don't know on the call, as you kind of alluded to, Miami is a very diverse area. In some ways, maybe more diverse than other parts of the country because of all these different segments. So I want to talk about a second, like how you market and sell to a multicultural, very diverse community, because that seems to be something that you and your store have mastered. So, but before we get into that, tell me why that's so important to you and your store, being able to talk to all these different groups. Like, why is that important to you?
Well, I think the first of that is like the objective needs to be clear. Like sometimes I ask my managers, for example, at the beginning of the year, like, what is the expectation this year? What is the objective? And sometimes they say, oh, sell more cars. Okay, but what is the number? How I want to do it? How this going to happen? No, if we sell one more car this year, we're going to be happy, like, because that's more cars. Like, how we put a number, and the number needs to come from someplace. I think the number is a result or a strategy that you create based on the information that you have. And I will tell you the story about your question, and I will tell you how we grew from the point that we were to the point that we are right now. I can tell you, like, in 2010, this market was really heavy on Spanish marketing, on Toyota, because every Toyota around me, and you know how close are these stores, like it's 10 miles away, like 25 miles away, 20 miles away. It's really close. Like for customers, 20 minutes to go from one store to another. Like, what makes you different? And I was competing in that time, or we as a company were competing at that time with bigger budgets. Like how small dealer in a far town in Homestead can compete with a bigger market dealers have more money put in marketing. And I will put this in perspective. We were investing around $65,000 in marketing against a dealer close to us that is a group that was putting $1 million a month in marketing.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's a fight.
Yeah. And what is normal, you are going to what you think is going to work best, and you go to traditional, like, but you go to TV, radio. But we were realizing, like, listen, we're invisible here. Nobody's going to pay attention to us when you have those budgets. And that's going to become a waste. If you heard this 20 times and you heard me one time, it's a waste. At that time, I think, and based on my market share, my strategy was nobody's speaking English. Let me attack that market because it's still a market there. Yes, this market is heavily dominated by English speaker. That's fine. I'm not going to grow in that direction. I'm going to have a natural traffic because it's heavy, but I want to invest all my resources where nobody's investing the money because I want to grow my market share where nobody's going. And I start investing in English. And where I cannot go to traditional TV because my dollars are going to be disappearing. But in that time, we were heavy in Google, heavy. Like nobody was investing $40,000 in 2011 in Google. I can tell you. Like everybody told me, like you're crazy. That's not gonna work. Like that amount of money? Are you crazy? You're invisible for the majority. But guess what? We get to traffic and to a strategy that was different. What we did, and I will tell you what we did at that time, we take advantage of the people putting $1 million and we start buying their name. What happened was people were calling us thinking we were the other dealer, and we were prepared for that. And that's going with the strategy. Listen, we're going to start receiving calls thinking like we're that dealer. We're going to say yes, and we're going to go through the process. We're going to go the information from the customer. This is 2010, 2011. We're going to start getting all the information. We're going to start working that. Once you have everything, then you're going to schedule an appointment. And then people realize they're not calling Kendall Toyota. That time was Kendall Toyota. They're not calling them. They're calling us. And they're going to drive because you already have the information. You make sure they receive the customer service. And we start growing in that time. I remember one of the first district managers told me, he asked me about my goal. And my goal in that time was to say, my goal is 100 new cars. And he told me, Boris, I love you. You're a great guy. Obviously, my English was really broken. He doesn't understand if I say 100, what number. Say, I love you. That's never going to happen. Believe me, that's never going to happen. We reached 100, we reached 200, we reached 300, we reached 400. And every time I text him, like, hey, remember at the 300, he told me like, that was a motivational speech to you. But the strategy was, and I'm using this because we changed the other way around in the Kia. We marketing Kia different because that was the other way around. Everybody was marketing in English, we start marketing in Spanish, and we see a big, huge improvement. In that time, for that reason, and you say about strategy, I have a lot of salesmen that only speak Spanish. We pay as a company for an English course to make sure everybody start understanding basic of English because we were targeting English speaker in a market like this heavily dominated in Spanish. Like what is going to happen? Customer are going to come by, they're going to walk in, nobody speak English, we have a problem. Mm-hmm. In that time, and I think you read that about when I heard that, like when I a few years ago, I said like, people are not going to survive if we have an English speaker in the store, and not only in our store, in any store around. If you have an English speaker salesman, they're going, they don't sell cars because it's a customer walking in. We changed that. Now, today, even today, in this heavily market in Spanish, we have pretty much 65% of our sales is still English because we are still dominating the market. Still, everybody's focused in the Spanish market, but okay, now we can start jumping into that, but we're already dominating this. We start dominating 51% of our PMA. We start growing the amount of units that we're putting inside our PMA and outside our PMA, but it's going with the strategy. I think is before the numbers came, okay, how this is going to happen? Where do we really have the opportunity? I shared with you before, I think it was in the call that we were having before, we start marketing in Portuguese. We find out it's a big market inside us, so close to us, that speak Portuguese. Okay, what do they do? Is an opportunity there to grow. Is somebody, any other dealer speaking in Portuguese? No. Okay, what is going to cost to invest there? Start speaking Portuguese, making sure we have the salesmen that are going to receive those customers, making sure you have a website, speak the same language for them to feel, because when you talk to somebody with a different language, and we're talking about this kind of demographic, they want to feel that you care. I'm not going to start speaking in Spanish and you have a Portuguese website. Like, it's no match. It needs to be a strategy. If we're going to start speaking Portuguese, I need to have a Portuguese website. I need to have a Portuguese landing page that when they start seeing my ads in Portuguese, they're going to click there. They're going to see the ad, the same thing, landing page is in Portuguese. They're going to speak with somebody that speaks their own language. They're going to feel home.
And then do you have employees, I'm guessing, that speak Portuguese as well once they arrive to the dealership?
Of course, you need to have somebody that take care of that. but that is going to any other direction. I know we were talking, California has a lot of Chinese, a lot of Asian people. If you're going to talk to them, you need to talk in the same way. The strategy needs to be behind. You need to identify first, this is an opportunity. Yes. Do I going to invest there? Yes. I need to invest in the right way. This is a strategy that is going to happen. And that's pretty much the logic behind every opportunity that we see, that we can grow, we invest, but we have a strategy behind it.
But I can't wait to ask you a question on this one. So, because I want to take you out of your market right now. And I want to, what if you were a white guy that did not speak Spanish, right? Like you speak Spanish. And so.
I'm sorry, I lose your question.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I lose the question.
Okay. Yeah, so let's just pretend that you're not Boris Lopez, right? You're somebody else. You're a white guy from Missouri. And you're trying to target a Spanish-speaking audience, but you don't speak Spanish, because I think you speak Spanish. So going after that market, I would guess in some ways you have a little bit of an advantage because you at least speak that language. But imagine that you were, John from Missouri, a white guy, but you're in a market where you're trying to attract a Spanish-speaking audience. Like, how do you go about it? Because I feel like you could potentially come off as not authentic, or you can make some mistakes there. So what would you recommend to him?
Have a Spanish speaker inside the store. Like, again, you need to have a strategy behind. You're not going to pretend like speak Spanish, like, no hablo español. Yeah, people are going to appreciate that. Yeah, people are going to appreciate that. Yeah, people are going to appreciate that for sure. But I think you can have a Spanish speaker, because that's when you really care. That's when you really are all in the game. All in the game is, I really believe I have an opportunity to grow myself and to grow this store, penetrating this market. When you do that, you're all in. Because I'm going to speak in Spanish, but I'm going to have somebody that is going to take care of these people in Spanish. I'm going to have an F&I that can speak Spanish. I'm going to take care of that. Because I really believe this Spanish culture or this Hispanic demographic is a potential. When you believe in that, people feel it. It's being authentic. I don't need to speak Chinese to start selling to Chinese people, but I can show that I care. I care because I have a lineup here waiting for you to take care of your language if that's what you prefer. I honestly believe, and I push my salesman and pretty much everybody in the store speak English. And the reason is because a lot of the resources, a lot of the things that you can learn, a lot of the things are in English. And for me, the best books that I read so far is in English. And I think it's important. It's important that people understand the language, because a lot of the majority of the legal things, all of that is in English. But why not? If you're bilingual, because I have a lot of bilinguals person in the team, if I'm going to start targeting the Chinese market, I'm going to have a bilingual person that is going to be able to speak in Chinese, that is going to guide this customer in Chinese, because some people feel more comfortable, especially the second generation. I think we're going through a time that I think is going to be delayed a little bit, that first generation of people coming to US because of all the situation that happened. But still, you have a first generation that they will feel more comfortable negotiating in the language. And more than that, and I think it's behind on the people's mind, that is nothing that people express, they feel you care. Hey, these people care because they talk in my language. And I'm saying Chinese, but I can say, you're coming from Mars, whatever you're coming, I have somebody for you. If you're really into that, if you ask me, I'm from Missouri, let me try this market because I think it's an opportunity there. I'm going to start speaking like, oh yeah, ven to Tienda. Listen, don't do it. Don't even invest money there.
That's
because
exactly
you're not
what
all
I'm
in.
getting at.
You're not all in. If you're not all in, don't do it. Don't even try. Start focusing on what you can grow. But that's a lot to do with strategy behind that.
Yeah. Having the people on your team that can speak the language, but it can also consult you. If I open a dealer in a Chinese neighborhood, I would want some team members to be able to consult me, not just on the language, just like on the culture, on their hot buttons, on what they like, and just so that I don't have a blind spot.
Right.
Doing things.
I can use another example. I have my finance director is from India, and he has a culture that he cultivate. Like we sponsor things in for his community. I go to dinners with the entire Indian community. I care. I didn't speak Indian. I didn't speak
Right.
Hindu.
You
I
could
care.
still care.
Like, yeah, I care because I have somebody that can take care of them with that. And everybody they get to the store, like they know who to talk. We have somebody that is going to talk to them. And I can tell you, it's not a big effort that we do in marketing to conquest that market, but we have the strategy to follow when we put $1 in marketing for that.
Makes sense.
That's I think that would be my advice if you ask me for somebody from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
You said something at the beginning when you were discussing or describing what it was like when you took over the store, competing with all these dealerships around you that had these $1 million budgets and stuff. And you said that the people were being advertised to in English, and you're just, how do you fight? Everybody's talking in English. Nobody's talking in Spanish. There's an opportunity there. So you speak Spanish, Boris, right?
Yeah, that's my first language.
Your decision wasn't based because it's easy to speak Spanish. You can already speak Spanish. You saw a viable economic opportunity within this market that nobody else has capitalized on. So it wasn't just because, hey, these are people that I have a kinship with because we speak similar languages or might have similar backgrounds. You were like, I can create a business opportunity on this segment of people that has been overlooked by all of these other players around me who are just going English, 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 English. And I think, and the reason I love that so much is because, there's a lot of conversations about diversity. There's a lot of conversations about equality and, but it's also economically viable. So even if you're not on board with, hey, I want to stick with mine and whatever you think, the money says, go talk to people who may be different than you. It's just so, I mean, I of course, I applaud your success. Your success really brings me joy. Like, I'm being sincere. I also applaud, it's not just because it was personal. It was a conscious decision that here's an opportunity that's being overlooked that I can maximize on. And then you're doing the opposite with Kia. I mean, like, hey man, I don't feel like standing up, but I should be standing up to clap for you. I see why you're getting happy because your strategy is right there. Your business acumen is right there. And you're really going for it in a way that I think more people should be taking a closer look at to optimize. If you want to grow, is it advertising the exact same thing? Is it buying a bigger store necessarily? Or is there a market, maybe, that hasn't been utilized or respected as well as they could have been and connected with? So I really, really do want to appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's not just, we're talking about multicultural consumers right now, but there's a lot of other segments that are big opportunities. Women, as an example, right? That have kind of been underserved by the industry at large. Millennials, like that's going to be the new one. These younger consumers that have been raised differently. So I mean, imagine all the possibilities for dealers that really want to zone in on these segments.
I agree. I think like I'm being part of different discussions, like different kind of people talking about two different things. Like you say about women's, like. In my case, like we promote this inside. We have women's F&I. Yeah. I think the majority of the personnel that we have in the store is women's, but we have service advisor F&I. We also have technicians women's. Like we have women's all around. Like I think sometimes people feel more comfortable, but I think women's are harder workers than us. Like I can tell you. Well, I can tell you.
I disagree with you on that.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna laugh. I don't want anybody to think I think that's funny. I like the observation. I agree with it.
The number one F&I that we have right now in both stores is a woman. And we like to promote more. We have a lot of women salesmen that do really well. The best service advisor that we have today is a woman. Like I think that we believe in that. We believe in diversity because we believe in listen, it's equal. Like why? If you work hard, you deserve it. Like this is not a man position. And I think you see more often like general managers being women like to that because they're really strong. I know a couple that are really strong. I really admire them. Like I think I agree that sometimes it's harder, because we're this world, like we make it harder. But I really appreciate the one that succeed, and we really open the doors for people that want to succeed. Doesn't matter the race, doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter whatever, because we believe in equality, honestly. And the millennials is kind of like a different animal for me, and the reason is, I think millennials But this discussion I had before, but we need to treat the people well. I think everybody, millennial, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen B, whatever, they love to be treated well. If we have that in mind and we respect the customer, if they're a millennial, you will respect the employee the same way, because we understand millennials have a different mindset. And I deal with a couple different ones. And believe me, I'm really like straightforward. This is what I'm expecting from you. This is what happened. I can tell you this from me. My goal when I sit with somebody and had a conversation to let them go, if they didn't know that I'm sitting with them to let them go, I did something wrong. And I need to evaluate myself what I did wrong, because this conversation needs to be the end conversation for 5 previous ones that I'm invest time in you, I trying to coach you, and then we're getting into this conversation that is going to happen. And I can tell you from working with millennials, if you're straightforward, this is my expectation, this is what I want, this is what is going to happen, you don't do this and that, after 3 conversations, you know is what is going to happen. Either you stay in the team or you're not. I think this business is really strict on what we're expecting from people. It's really hard because we work different hours. We work pretty much every day. We don't have too much time off. Like, listen, if you want to be in this business, this is the way it is right now. Could change? Yes. Hey, do it better. Do it often and do it like efficient. Like, I have a BDC person that he's a millennial. He worked 40 hours. He doesn't work more time. He said, bro, don't touch my schedule. I want to work 40 hours. But guess what? He's the number one. He's the one that have more appointments. He's the number one on some more cars, because the time that he's there, he is really focused. He's the one that take every phone call. He do this. I don't care. You can work 30 hours if you're the top. If you're the top person, I don't care if you work 20 hours. Like, I don't care. Again, it's like setting the right expectation with millennials. But with the customer that is millennial, that you say is, you're right. It's coming to the market, and it's more and more and more often that it's coming to the market. We need to treat them well. Listen, this is a way, transparency, we treat you well, this is what it is, and yes. And honestly, I was seeing a study the other day, actually on the meeting with Google, that it's impressive how many first-time buyers going to happen today, because we see what is happening in the market. Like, people feel afraid to be ride-sharing. Like, now ride-sharing companies are having issues, because now what happened is, like, I want to have my car. Like, I want to own my car, and it's going to be my first car. In towns like, I think Miami is not so heavy on that, but New York, some places, like, people used to ride sharing because it's comfortable, it's easy. I don't need to park my car anywhere. Now they feel, you know what? I want my own space. The first-time buyer is when you have that kind of mindset, like, you don't want to own a car, for sure you're kind of, if you're not a millennial, you think like a millennial. You're kind of in that range.
Yeah.
A different customer.
Yeah.
How we want to treat them, because they're coming to the market today. What is going to be the treatment that we're going to show them to keep them into this market for a long time, to keep them into this loop for a long time, and making sure you are the one.
That's important. So I want to ask you a question. Thinking about the millennials coming into this market right now, and how do you keep them? So you're talking about the future. So where do you see, because I know you got a good strategy behind you, where do you see the industry going in 10 years?
But we're talking about consumers, or we're talking about employees?
Yes.
Any of them. Where is automotive retail? Where are the dealerships going to be in 10 years from now?
Well, I think, as I say before, I think it's going to be less stores, because it's a couple of factors happen right now. Is 3 different things happen in the market. Is big.
Uh-oh, we lost him. You'll be back, Boris. Hold on.
I lose you for a while, but yes, I lose
Boris,
you for a while, but
for a second. We lost you for a second, but you're back.
Yeah, it's a couple of big public companies acquiring more dealers, and I think manufacturers are trying to stop that. I see different rules trying to say you cannot, but it's a lot of old dealers that doesn't have heirs, like doesn't have nobody to take care, and they will need to start selling the stores. I think good operators are not. You cannot find good operators in every place. I think it's going to be a reduction on the stores. I think customer behavior is going to dictate the way business is going. I think this buy from home, this kind of transparency is going to keep evolving in a place like people are going to be buying from home, and it's going to be easy. Uh, that kind of machine that sell cars, I think that's kind of the future. I think that will be the future of people like start testing cars in a different way. Like I think Tesla did it. I think they hit a niche. If they start selling a cheaper car, they're going to change the industry in a lot of ways that other manufacturers need to keep evolving to that. But people buy Tesla from the phone. You know, they put a deposit. You know, you see, if you compare what Tesla sold from that crazy pickup truck, they sold more than the number one car selling that is the F-150 in 1 month. If they're able to produce that, listen, that changed the market. Like you're going to be able to buy from the phone. You're going to get your car. You're going to drive it for 3 years. You're going to turn that. I think that's the way I see this business going. And for sure, if that happens, distance is not relevant anymore. You can have a small kiosk in any place that you get the car. You get the car in your home. I think Carvana is pushing that really hard. I get the car from you. I give you a delivery your new car. When you have that kind of flexibility, you don't need to go anywhere. Like we're doing that in service. You don't need to come for us to service. You don't need to come to us to sell. Do you care about where I am?
Wow.
I can be 200 miles from you. I won't keep serving the car. I think we need to evolve to that.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Your slogan of we're the closest dealer to you. I mean that says it all. Like you can be the closest dealer to the consumer, no matter where they are, and that is the opportunity that has even been exasperated with this pandemic. So I think you're spot on. We got to wrap, and I feel like I can talk to you for another 2 hours if we really wanted to.
I would like to.
I'm really enjoying.
I think so. So here's what we're going to promise. If Boris agrees, we definitely have to have you back on. We have a blog, so I think we want to definitely feature you in the blog. Maybe people can just read an article about you. That would be great if you agree to be a part of it.
Anytime.
Yeah, and I think
anytime.
Yeah, I think what I love is like you're so pragmatic and insightful. And, you know, when you talk about these future things, normally we get, like I said, people, you know, it scares the industry. And I feel like you're kind of like, let's accept this and let's do something about it so that we're prepared for the changing consumer, the changing automotive landscape. So I'm really impressed by that. If anybody wants to reach out to you in any way or follow you, are you on social or your dealership? Where can they find you?
I think I kind of public in social media, like somebody can ask me for there, but I think for kind of like they can write me an email, send me an email, text me. I think my phone is pretty much everywhere too. But yes, my information is open. I'm open to help and assist, and I really enjoy that because I can tell you, like seeing different scenarios, like I learn a lot too. Like share my insight, but you know you learn from that too. It's kind of every situation is kind of unique, but yes, listen, if everybody want to reach to me, like more than happy and open, I will make time. I love to have time for that.
That's awesome.
But that's awesome. So which email address should it be, Boris? Or don't give out your phone number. Don't give out your phone number.
I'm telling you, you're going to get some stalkers out there.
But what would be the good email address?
B as in boy Lopez, B Lopez at S as in Sam, D as in David, T as in Tom, Toyota.com. Is B Lopez at SDTToyota.com.
All right.
B Lopez at SDTToyota.com. Fantastic.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Boris. When I first got you on the phone, I'm gonna tell a little secret, Carrie. It was a secret between us. I was like, when I was telling my boss about you, I was like, this dude's gonna be great. This dude understands the industry. He knows what's happening. There's no, this is going to be a great conversation. You lived up to my expectations and beyond. Picked up things from you that I didn't expect, and I hope that our viewers got some as well. Can't wait to have you back on the show. It's just fantastic.
Thank you so much, Boris. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Listen, I think passion is a big driver. I love this business, and I love business in general. I think that's the driver. I love it. But hey, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it, and I was happy to share all the insights, share time with you guys.
Thanks so much, Boris. We really appreciate you. All right. Another industry insider. So Matt, what did you get out of this one? What was your big takeaway?
My big takeaway is that he was going after business, not going after what was comfortable. When he said that he started targeting, well, the big one was that he found an opportunity in a market to try to sell to people who had been overlooked. And he went after it not just because they spoke the same language, but because it presented a viable business opportunity, an economic opportunity. I love that.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest things that I mean, we don't always hear that. It doesn't always seem to happen. The huge takeaway, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets it from a diversity standpoint and how it ties to business. So I think that's a huge takeaway. I think for me, I mean, talking to him was a lot like, you know, we live in automotive, but we live in the tech world too.
Yeah.
And when you're in the tech world, everything is about testing things out, A/B testing, trying new things, evolving all the time. Our website always changes, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what was refreshing is talking to him was like, it's like talking to a dealer, but it's talking to a tech person too.
Right. Well, remember,
like a powerful combination.
Remember where he got his start. He said he was in IT at the dealership in Venezuela. He was an IT guy. He didn't think he was going to be selling cars, right?
Yeah. And when you talk to someone like that, and I kept on emphasizing it, but the emotion's gone when you talk about evolution. Like, you know, normally when you talk about evolution, there's a lot of emotion because we hang on to what worked or what our profit centers from the past. And I think in talking to him, it was like, he was very much like, this is what's happening. And this is what's happening in other industries or from outsiders. And I think that's where we're going to need to go in order to evolve as an industry. So I think that was my takeaway. I feel refreshed. Like, yes, the future is great in auto retail as long as we can like duplicate Boris Lopez somehow across the industry.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, if you take a store that's selling 25 cars and you take it to 400, and then you take another dealership that was selling 40 cars and you take it to 150, there's a good chance we're going to see more of Boris Lopez.
Yeah, so, definitely. So that was inspiring. So if you want to watch this interview, we will be posting this on our dealer blog at TrueCar.com dealer blog. We'll be posting it on LinkedIn and Facebook and across all of our channels. And stay tuned. We'll be doing a feature on Boris on our dealer blog as well. So Matt, any final words?
Yes, you're going to like our next guest too.
Okay, good. Stay tuned. Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Matt.
Bye.